Hey guys, what's going on? Friday Night Live. Maybe this might become a thing. Friday Night Live. I've been getting to connect with some pretty cool people. So if you see me message you, it's me. It's not a bot, I promise. And one of the biggest things that I see or I'm hearing from people is overthinking. So today I want to have a huge discussion on overthinking. I'm going to break it down for you. We're going to get clear on the understanding of it. And then we're also going to come up with some strategies around overthinking tonight. So, welcome to Friday Night Live. I'm going to be looking at the comments. I want it to be super interactive. So, go ahead and post your comments below on, if you can relate to overthinking. You can relate to overthinking if you believe that maybe it's one of the things that's holding you down. And so, today I want to talk about just an understanding of it. I did spend a little bit of time on it. How many of you guys have been messing around with ChatGPT? Has anybody been using ChatGPT? Can we just talk about this for a second? I've been playing around with ChatGPT just to see, so my business mentor has been like, okay, get on here and start looking it up. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me start with something that a lot of people are struggling with, and especially working on my speech and getting ready to go to Orlando. And so I think the biggest thing is we got to understand what it is. So I pulled it up and it says overthinking is when you dwell on or worry about the same thing repeatedly. People who think can be paralyzed by their worries and may struggle to make decisions or take action. Overthinking can be caused by and contribute to depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. And so when we're blaming something like on our anxiety, we never really kind of go back one step further to see well, where does this stem from? Where's my overthinking stemming from? And then I started to dive a little bit deeper because one thing about ChatGPT is you got to be really sharp with your question asking. And so how many of you have heard it's not about asking questions, it's about asking the right questions, right? Has anybody been hearing that lately or practicing it? And it really is true. And I feel like when you do get on ChatGPT, it is you're gonna have it really forces you to make sure that you actually are asking the right questions in there to receive the most desired answers. So it's really cool practice in regards to that. I'm just playing around with it. So that's what overthinking was. So then I'm like, well, what is the side effect? What's it going to cost me if I continue to overthink and I don't actually deal with it? And this is how does overthinking affect you? And it says fatigue, headaches, nausea, difficult concentrating, trouble sleeping, changes in appetite. And so there's a side effect of all this stuff. And then we go to doctors and XYZ, but sometimes you just got to dig a little bit deeper. Here's where it gets really, really cool. Hold on. So then I started asking, well, this isn't cool, but it just says, if I continued on with this behavior, what is it going to cost me? So what's it going to cost me? And then ChatGPT said, impaired decision making. So how many of you have felt that way before? Reduced productivity. I'm getting a lot of people. I mean, I literally have a whole course built out on productivity. Overthinking consumes mental energy, attention, leaving you with limiting cognitive resources. And I think one of the biggest things too is when you learn how to shape shift the overthinking and you learn to trust your ability to make the right decisions and to move forward with stuff, overthinking is easily transitioned into productivity. You become more productive, more efficient. I wouldn't say easily, but it's definitely transitioned over into more so being productive and efficient. I had a client that I worked with maybe a few months ago, and they were spending majority of their day overthinking. And we just talked about the side effects, not being able to sleep, having anxiety, then funneling into depression, and then numbing themselves with different substances and medication like Adderall, because that's just really, people don't go a few steps back. And this is what I'm trying to, when we have these live streams, I'm trying to get you guys to think for yourself, to go back a little bit deeper and understand what is the root cause, and to learn to understand your emotions. And some people are like, I don't want to feel. Well, if you don't want to feel, that means like you're never going to be able to figure this stuff out and overcome these things that are preventing you from living your life on purpose, from actually having a pulse. And so we started working and giving structure and strategy in the day. Something you guys have been hearing me speak a lot about is DMOs, your daily methods of operation. You guys in the real estate have a lot of real estate clients call it SOPs. Those are just systems on how to process. And there is DMOs and SOPs on your human performance. I want you to understand there is systems and structures in order for you to operate as your most elite self that is required for you to do and show up on a day-by-day basis. Sometimes you guys will hear me call it the work behind the work. That's what that is. There's certain things and systems in place. And so just by creating structure in their day and giving them a system, maybe specifically on like time blocking, time management, being more efficient, they were able to get so much work done because they didn't have time to overthink, because all they had to do was just do what they set up in their day and in their schedule. And so increased stress and burnout, strained relationships, missed opportunities. And another question, really great question asked, because remember, it's not just asking a question, but it's asking the right questions, is what is it going to cost me if I continue to operate in this mental capacity? What is it going to cost the business? What's going to cost relationships? And so as I'm playing on ChatGPT, I'm like, that's like really fascinating, because today I actually wanted to talk to you about, sometimes you guys will see me pop this book up. I told you guys, if you want to do a book club, I'm down. I already started reading it. I'm like halfway through. And there's a section in here and it says the 30 major causes of failure and how many of these are holding you back. And it's interesting to see how simple these things are in here. And if you guys are watching it, Cash Money Mike, it's been a minute. We got to reconnect. So this is our book club, Think and Grow Rich. Today we're talking about overthinking. For those of you just joining us now, we're talking about overthinking, what it's going to cost you in the long run, signs and symptoms to pay attention to, things that you might be experiencing. And then also, fascinating enough, there's a part in here before the 30 major causes of failure. They talk about capital value on your services. And it says competent brains. See how all this ties in? Competent brains, if effectively marketed, represent a much more desirable form of capital than that required to conduct a business dealing in commodities. This is because brains, so your mind, is a form of capital that cannot be permanently depreciated through depressions. So no matter what is going on, right? So, nor this form of capital be stolen or spent. So we want efficient brains, and understand, how do I have an efficient brain? This is your capital. This is your ROI when put into systems and productive stuff like that. So it's important to understand. There's a question that I ask when I do my podcast, and it's like, what do you have to overcome in order to be your most elite self, in order to become who you need to become? And sometimes it's not about doing anything new. It's learning how to shed segments of yourself that are blocking your blessings. And so today I wanted the core focus to be around overthinking, because it's the core conversation of my consultations and my clients. Besides the overwhelm, lack of clarity, lack of direction, mental fogginess. And when you're having these signs and symptoms of anxiety, depression, go back a little bit and say, where is this stemming from? What is the thing that's causing this? All right. So in here, in page 137, it says the 30 major causes of failure. How many of these are holding you back? It says unfavorable heredity background. And this talks about masterminds. So it's like really making sure that you're around others. It comes back to the mind of getting in a collective group of people that are going to support you and your growth in a healthy environment. That's something I've really been talking about the last few months, is about community and being very selective with the community. We had our monthly meetup for the Conscious Entrepreneur here in Miami, and a part of the 2-hour meetup was about goals. And when you guys are setting goals, there's different stages in goal setting. And when you're just putting a goal out there and you tell the wrong people, that can crush your goal. It could crush the spirit of the goal. It could crush the spine of the goal, and the goal never becomes a reality because you told the wrong people and the goal was not in a safe environment. So when the goal is starting to be vocalized, make sure you have the right support system that's going to speak life into your goal and into your vision. It's so important. And that was a core topic of it, to have an environment, an ecosystem when you're sharing your goals and your dreams, that they're with the right people so you all speak life into your goal. It's a clear intention, it's intentional. And I have Mimi in here right now, and she's somebody that I trust, and she's part of one of the big goals that we've partnered up for one of these big goals that we're having here in Miami. It's the Elite Conscious Entrepreneur Retreat. It is actually a 3-day sober retreat. And it's something that as I've been speaking about it, not a lot of people have done it. And so it's scary. There's beliefs going on. Other people that run events are saying things about it. And so I have a certain group of people that I know to go to speak life, to pray over my goals so that the goal can grow. There's different stages of your goals, and it's so important to have those communities. In this first part, having a favorable mastermind is a big part, or having an unfavorable mastermind is a big part that causes failure. So we're reading this in here and is also giving examples. Number 2 is lack of well-defined purpose in life. And a lot of times our purposes, which we don't understand until sometimes we're in a space where we understand, our purpose is a space that comes from our heart. And so we're talking about keeping our heart open. I did a post here on the Facebook group before, and I said, fortify your mind, keep your heart open, and keep your spirit strong. And these things alone, like having an open heart, is where your dreams and your visions and your goals are. These are all programming. So the ideal is to get your brain on task with your heart. But if your heart's closed, you're never going to have any direction to give your brain to start executing on, because then it's about execution. And there was a part, I think I was telling you guys earlier when I was reading 40-day prayer, and they were saying pray as if it depends on God and work as if it depends on you. So lack of well-defined purpose in life. And a lot of purpose also stems from service. So if you're not clear on what you're supposed to do something for other people, and you'll start to find how fulfilling that is. Number 3 is lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. One thing that we said even too in the meetup, and I'm telling you guys and emphasizing to you guys about, is there's a 90-day accountability calendar in the link in the bio. And one of the things that I highly encourage you to do is for the next 90 days, set 3 goals that make you very uncomfortable. Not so uncomfortable where you feel like you're incapable, but uncomfortable to the point where you're going to be challenged and you're going to grow from it. And one thing that the goals that I said, if anything, I know we're going to grow from this. We're going to have such a great growth experience regardless of anything. Number 4 is insufficient education. This is a handicap that may be overcome with comparative ease. Experience has proven that the best educated people are often those who are known as self-made or self-educated. And I think they say this too because a lot of people that I've come across with life experience is really where knowledge stems. You can't know something if you haven't had an experience on it. I was talking to a few people, and they were talking about bringing people in from universities to teach on this and that. And I understand a lot of people that have done the work will go back to schools and teach just to contribute back to society. But I was having a conversation because my cousin is graduating and she's looking for work and stuff like that, and figuring things out. And I never really understood how somebody could teach something that they've never had an experience doing. Because there's so many things that happen, and you guys know too, like even in business or in your work, that you learn the greatest lessons based on the experiences that you have, or when you have people as you take on as mentors, whether it being through a live stream like this or a podcast, or you actually pay and invest, which I always recommend, like pay for it, because it's going to be more customized. You're going to get your systems, your daily methods of operation, you're going to get structure. And in order to put all the pieces together to get the most efficient outcome, there are systems, and having things in the right sequence with the right systems is so important, because it could really make or break you. All right. So in here, they said insufficient education. So definitely putting things into application, lack of self-discipline. You guys know I am a huge advocate on discipline, and I wasn't for a long time. I rebelled discipline, and I had a very negative relationship around it because of past experiences of addiction. And one of the things about discipline is I used to attach punishment to discipline. And then once I started understanding, because we talked about lack of education, then when I started understanding and educating myself on, wait a second, let me understand really what this is about. Just because maybe I had a bad experience around it, maybe I just didn't have the right system, or I didn't have the right playbook, or I didn't have the right mentor that taught me the importance and significance of discipline. And I learned a lot about that through my yoga practice, where discipline equals freedom. And you can still have a ton of freedom within structure. And what I realized with working with people, even people that have built really large successful businesses, they lack foundation. And with structure equals order. With no structure equals chaos. I'm just like scrolling through these. So if anything hits you, guys, let me know. Drop a comment. If you have your own opinion, put it in the chat. Maybe I'll throw you guys up here. That'd be cool. Number 6 is ill health. Ill health. We have to be healthy enough to be able to keep up with our goals and our visions and our dreams. Having a great body is amazing. It feels good, but nothing feels better than being healthy. Because this way you have the energy, you have the vitality, you have the life force to be able to keep up. You have the mental clarity to be able to keep up with your vision and your goal. And there will be mornings where I'll wake up and I'm like, gosh, I have so much to do. Maybe I should skip my workout. And then I think about my morning where I'm overthinking of what I have to do. And I'm like, I have to go to the gym to clear all this so I can be mentally sharp and I can be prepared for anything that I face today. Some days are going to be a smooth day and that's going to be amazing. But every single day I prepare myself. I fortify my mind. I keep my body healthy. I keep my spirit up and I keep my heart open. And you have to make sure that you're taking care of that part of you so that you can show up for whatever you got to do. It even says here, overeating food, even if it's healthy food. Overeating, you can have healthy food, but an unhealthy behavior. Wrong habits of thought, wrong use of overindulgence in sex. Got to protect your temple. Lack of proper physical exercise, and an inadequate supply of fresh air due to improper breathing. Very, very important. It really does. Like when you sit all day long, you are cutting off your oxygen supply. And what is the biggest thing for our energy source is oxygen to our brain. We need movement for mental clarity. Number 7 is unfavorable environment influences due to childhood. What does this mean here? As the twig is bent, so shall the tree grow. Most people who have criminal tendencies acquire them as the result of bad environments and improper associations during childhood. So that was one of them about your environment. You know, you can't bloom in a toxic ecosystem, but you can change that environment. And I want to talk about that for a second because I feel like this is important. Sometimes, I was talking about this in an interview the other day, but sometimes you're going to have to go in something called an ostrich phase. An ostrich phase is where you do it and you have to remove yourself from everyone and everything in order to get yourself in a really good space. And then number 8 is procrastination. This is a big one a topic. Actually, I have a course on this to help you guys. It's a whole hour long, but I don't want to spend an hour on this. procrastination. It is TanyaColiver.com/procrastination. And the course is amazing. It's a game changer. The thing about procrastination people don't understand is it's not a lazy trait, but it's the inability to process negative thoughts and emotions. And those three core emotions is not feeling safe to move forward, typically because of past mistakes and not trusting yourself or your ability to make the right decision. Number 2 is overwhelm. And number 3 is distractions. So the internal distractions, the external distractions. This is one of the most common causes of failure. The procrastination stands within the shadow of all people, awaiting the opportunity to spoil their chances of success. Most of us go through life as failures because we are waiting for the time to be right to start to do something worthwhile. Do not wait. The time will never just be right. Start where you stand. Work with whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along. I had one of my students in my inner circle ask me the other day, like, what do you do when you're off? Like, how do you get back on? Or how do you know, like, where you're going? Or how do you know, like, the next path or that next big vision? And sometimes I just focus on what's my next step. Maybe my next step is showing up for the gym. And maybe my next step is just showing up and following up with people. Maybe my next step is applying for a speaking event. Maybe my next thing is whatever it may be. It's just like, what's my next step today? And that's all I focus in on, especially when things seem super heavy and my mind can easily go somewhere else. It allows you to get into something called in the zone and some type of tunnel vision. Athletes are very good with this. And if you were an athlete, it's like kind of pulling back and taking those skill sets that work, depending on what level you played and the type of coaches you had, into the space of still being back in the zone. Lack of persistence. Most of us are good starters, but poor finishers of everything we begin. Moreover, people are prone to give up the first signs of defeat. There is no substitute for persistence. The persistent person discovers that old man failure finally becomes tried and goes away. Failure cannot cope with persistence. One of the biggest things that you guys can say is the follow-up game. Follow-up game, follow-up game, follow-up game. Be persistent, and that's why it's really important to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Why you're doing what you're doing to have that persistency. Number 10 is negative personality. There's no hope of success for the person who repels people through a negative personality. Success comes through the application of power, and power is attained through the cooperative effort of other people. A negative personality will not induce cooperation. I know you guys are busting your butt to get to the next level. I know you guys are busting your butt to serve and to expand your businesses and your lives. And some days you can feel defeated. And that energy, it is often called apathy. That apathy is kind of like that dullness. And if you get rejected for so many times, you're kind of like, not in, so it's Winnie the Pooh, but it's the donkey. Eeyore, I think it's Eeyore is the name, but it's kind of like that Eeyore energy, like, okay. You know, like that donkey, like, okay. And then the opposite of that is being enthusiastic. You have to believe in what you're doing. And the more that you're enthusiastic about what you're doing, you're like, guys, like, my shiznit is amazing. This course is going to change your life. Like, you're going to have so much impact in it. Like this is what happened to Sally, and this is what happened to Bob, and this is what happened to Chris, and this is what happened to me. Like, I was a product first, and I'm like, you know what? Let me see if this blueprint is the same. It can be applied to any person, regardless of their business method, because this is human performance. And human performance is human performance because we're all humans, but in different seasons of our life, maybe with different roles we've taken on. Maybe you've taken on the role of husband or wife, and maybe you've taken on the role on top of that of parent. Maybe you've taken the role on parent of animals, And then you've taken on the role of business owner. And those are all roles that come back to roll to the core of the human being. And human being is a human being that's taken on different roles. And this all comes back to the core. And I think maybe the core message of today is like going back to the core. I left my line. All right, negative personality. Yeah, so be enthusiastic. Lack of controlled sexual urges. So sex energy is the most powerful of all the stimuli that move people into action because it is the most powerful of the emotions. It must be controlled through transmutation and converted into other channels. It must be converted into other channels. And this is a big one too. Like, I know a lot of people don't talk about it because it's like not cool, but there's so much power in celibacy, especially if you are single and you are not in a committed relationship or you're not really in a relationship. It's such a powerful thing because it allows you to really channel in your energy and how to generate it and figure out how to generate it in the most impactful way. And when you're talking about detoxing, that is a form of detox, of purifying yourself, not just like your food, your thoughts, but also your sexual energy and your sexual urges. And that is a big part of discipline. So controlling that. Number 12 is uncontrolled desire for something for nothing. The gambling instinct drives millions of people to failure. Evidence of this may be found in a study of the dot-com fiasco in the early 2000s, during which millions of people tried to make money by investing in fly-by-night campaigns or companies. So that's something for nothing. That's another one. Number 13 is lack of a well-defined power of decision. People who succeed reach decisions promptly and change them, if at all, very slowly. People who fail reach decisions, if at all, very slowly, and change them frequently and quickly. Indecisiveness and procrastination are twins. And when we talked about overthinking is a big reason as to like another reason why we don't move forward in things, because we get into that mental paralysis. What is it saying here? Where one is found, the other may usually be found also. Kill off this pair before they completely tie you to a treadmill of failure. So it's saying the twinsies is procrastination and indecisiveness. Indecisiveness and procrastination. And we all said that was the inability to make negative thoughts and emotions. And when you take care of your body and you start to really do certain things in placement, you build trust in yourself. I do feel like a lot of indecisiveness comes down to maybe doing something for the first time and you have no guidance and you have no mentorship. And maybe if you're not in a space where you can do that, there's a lot of information online. I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, if I don't know anything about a certain topic, and it's my inner circle we're talking about this. If I don't know anything on a certain topic, and I don't even know, like, say I don't know how to cook, and I'm looking up recipes and I type in healthy, and so many people have a different opinion on what healthy is. But with some healthy can create inflammation and, dysfunctional gut health if you don't understand what healthy is. So I could type in like healthy ways to make pasta, and there's a bunch of soy in it, and they say use soy milk and use this and that and that and that. And then I'm having stomach issues and I'm not really understanding, or nor have I mastered my body or understand my body. And here I'm eating up all this stuff and trusting somebody else. And I've like put on all this weight and I'm having all these gut health issues. And it's like, sometimes there's just a lot of untrusted resources out there. And so when they're talking about, what is this? Lack of well-defined power from making a decision, indecisiveness, I realize too, a lot of people are indecisive because we don't have really trusted resources and we have too many options available that contradict themselves. That's why having just a few people part of your lineup that are experts are so important. Maybe having one business coach, one executive coach / life coach, or, performance coach than having somebody like just a few people in your area of experts of things that you want to grow and expand on that are going to help get you to that next level. One or more of the 6 basic fears. These fears have been analyzed for you in chapter 15. They must be mastered before you can mark your service effectively. Okay, so we got fears, but that's in another chapter. Wrong selection of a mate in marriage. I feel like even in dating, it says, unless this relationship is harmonious, failure is likely to follow. Moreover, it will be a form of failure marked by misery and unhappiness, destroying all signs of ambition. This is something definitely I think we all need to have classes on before we go that route. And I also understand that we consistently change. But when we're talking about like core values and it comes down to this, and I think even too, like in the dating space, like what are your core values of what you look for in a potential long-term relationship? Like, do you even have core values? Do you know what the core of the person? We talked about like going back to the core, going back to the source, besides like how much money you want them to make or how ambitious you want them to be or what their background is. Like what's in like not just like, oh, what's in here? And that sounds super fluffy, but like what's in here? What's in here? Like how well do they take care of themselves, like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Like, what are their core values? What do they value? Are those in alignment? Do they have a vision? Do they have a focus? I know sometimes I'll have candidates, and I'll ask these type of questions, like, what are your dreams? What are your visions? What do you want to achieve? What what are your challenges? And sometimes some of the people, they had no vision. And for me, core value is somebody to grow with. And in order to grow, there has to be a vision. There has to be a target. We have to be able to move together. I know for me, I'm very ambitious. I have a purpose. I have big goals I want to achieve. I want to serve. I want to help as many people as possible. I want to have a phenomenal lifestyle along the way. And I got to have somebody that's on the same pace. I can't be trying to drag my partner around. I have to have somebody that's God-centered. You know, I've also been pouring in my investment, my spirituality and my relationship with God. And so you have to get clear. And sometimes when you take a season of getting to really know yourself and to build yourself into the person that you aspire to become or the person you want to attract, it might take a few seasons, and that's okay. Because when you come across something that you know that you want, you recognize each other. And it's really important, super important, because that can really make or break you. And it says it right in here, number 15, wrong selection of a mate in marriage. Even wrong selection of a mate in dating will impact you. That's your mental and emotional health. By all means, I'm not a dating coach, okay? Number 16, it's just in the book, and I'm given my area of expertise from the lessons of what not to do to now the new version of what's being done. Number 16 is over caution. The person who takes no chances generally has to take whatever is left when others have finished choosing. Over caution is as bad as under caution. Both are extremes to be guarded against. Life itself is filled with the elements of chance. So over caution. So that really blocks your blessings because you never really kind of take those leaps. Number 17 is wrong selection of association in business. I feel like this also comes back to understanding core values. And when it comes to intimate relationships, whether it being friendships, whether it being business relationships, whether it being partner relationships, the people that you're choosing to date, the people that you're choosing to marry, there's got to be some form of like a core value. Even so I recently partnered with somebody hosting an event that's going to be in Miami in September. It's going to be my first event. So I brought in a very strong lineup, and there was some core values that I was making sure was established before doing work together, because we're now in a relationship. We're in a relationship, and I need to understand that my partner has my back and that she knows that I have her back. Now I know what I'm capable of, and I know throughout the process there's a trust building segment, but I also needed to understand who she was as a human being and what how she moved and what her character was and what was important to her and what her dreams are and what her visions are and why this mission is also important to her. And she was telling me her why she was interested in it and how it really, hit her in the heart, and she felt called to be a part of it. And so I was like, we're completely in alignment. But there was a whole pruning process. There was an interview process, like a not like a real interview, but like, conversational process to make sure that this is going to be good for the both of us, because this is going to be a 3-4 month journey together of having this relationship. And then number 18 is superstition and prejudice. Superstition is a form of fear. It is also a sign of ignorance. People who succeed keep open minds and are afraid of nothing. Hold on, let me see what time it is here. I wanted to only keep these like 30 minutes. Okay, I think I'm way over time. Oh my gosh, I think I've been on here for like 40 minutes. All right, my goodness. We're only on number 19. Wrong selection of a vocation. No one can succeed in a line of endeavor they do not like. The most essential step in marketing and service is selecting an occupation into which you can throw yourself wholeheartedly. Every industry, you guys, regardless of how easy somebody seems to make it, is freaking hard. There are ups, there are downs, you could be the best at what you do, but then you have to learn how to be a business owner, how you have to do marketing, how you have to do this and that. And then like even when you do hire people, you still need to understand these things so you bring people on. And one thing I was asked, I did a podcast the other day, and she was like, well, what got you into your line of work? And I was like, well, it was kind of like one step at a time. I didn't realize I was going to merge into this. When I first started my career, I was a strength and conditioning coach, and I had nutrition background and strength and conditioning. I've competed. I was an athlete. I've done 2 bikini competitions. I played 9 years of travel ice hockey. I played college ice hockey. And so I was the byproduct of what I wanted to do. And when I was younger, I worked for somebody that was also my mentor. And so I knew that I always needed to be around a strong lineup of people. I grew up, I had coaches, learned what a good coach was, learned what a not great coach was, learned what I liked, what I didn't like. And so I'm grateful for those experiences. But during the process, what was that one part again? Hold on. Oh, one of my mentors had given me such great advice, and I'm so grateful I got it earlier on. Sometimes we get things early, sometimes we get it late. And he said, when you choose a career, make sure that the career pours life into you, because you're going to be spending every single day thinking about it, researching about it, studying things on it. So make sure that what you choose to do pours life into you, because it's who you're going to become. Even if you guys aren't loving what you're doing, you have still become what you do. If you are doing things that you're miserable in, then you have become miserable. If you do things you love, even though it's super hard, you still have a light within you. And this advice has really always followed through me. And this has been almost 20 years now. It's been almost 20 years since I got that advice. And it's just always stuck with me, and I'm super grateful. So every time I make decisions, whether I'm transitioning or I'm getting something, it's always because I know it's going to make me better. And maybe it's something I struggled with. And then once I learn it and I mastered it, then I hand it over to my clients. And I'm like, wow, there's patterns here, because there are patterns to success. They're not always in the same sequence, because we're all unique and we're all in different seasons of our life with different roles. But the systems are practically the systems. And here, lack of concentration of effort. Jack of all trades is seldom good at any. Concentrate all of your effort on one definite chief aim. And I know this can be so hard to choose one thing. There's a lot of things. I've got a few people that message me about what my degrees, my certs are. And then some people will say things. I was like, yeah, I know a lot about that. And they're like, why don't you ever market it? Because I've got a lot of things that I've done and I have certs in and degrees that I don't mention because I don't want it to look like I'm all over the place. But every single thing has had a placement in the line of work that I do. And so it's so important when you're putting things out there to just keep it narrowed down to who your target market is. And sometimes you do have to put a bunch of things out there to be certain on who you want to work with. There's been seasons in my career where I thought I wanted to work in addiction centers and I just wanted to work to help people because I'm like, I want to help people. I'm here to help people. I'm here to be of service. And then I'm like, this is draining me. This environment is stealing life force from me. And you know what? I'm not here to save anybody. That's God's work. Like, I'm here to just be a tool to be of service. And so I was like, this career, this industry, because I had an experience, I then had knowledge that treatment centers were not for me. And then I was like, I need people that are going to appreciate me teaching these life skills and these techniques that are actually going to run with it. And so I thought I wanted to work with professional athletes because I played sports and I played at an elite level as far as women could go. The next level during the time when I played ice hockey was the Olympics, but I would play with some of the girls and that played in the Olympics, like in training camps and stuff. And I was asking them, like, what's a career like? Do you make good money? Do you have like a mansion? Do you this and that? They're like, no, we still live at home with our mom. And they're 30 years old. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we don't get paid anything. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, hell no. I got to pick something here. So then I was like, okay, that was it. So then I was like, all right, I got to transition out of here. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on school and figure this out. But no, it's not going to be a career for me. Now times have changed for women, which is amazing. But back then, not so much. So in here it says, so then I started getting into helping pro athletes, and I worked with a few athletes at high levels, martial arts, jiu-jitsu, MMA people over at a really awesome, like highly specialized place. And I was like, no, not so much. And then I started understanding and working with CEOs and executives. Like, these people, entrepreneurs are the athletes of the world. Like, they are the athletes in the same concept in the business space. And I was like, this is my thing. This is my jam. These are my people. They take the information and they apply it and they run with it. But then I also realized there are different phases of the entrepreneurship and how the brain works and operates. And so when you are dabbling in things, do it intentionally to see what resonates with you and also where people are going to appreciate your skills and your traits and the things that you do, because sometimes you might be amazing, but you're also in the wrong environment that doesn't appreciate you, or maybe they don't get what you're trying to do. And that's something that took me a long time to understand. So that's kind of like the lack of concentration on effort can kind of go both ways. 21 is the habit of indiscriminate spending. It says spendthrifts cannot succeed. I don't know what spendthrifts mean. Mainly because they stand eternally in fear of poverty. Form of habit of systematic savings by putting aside a definite percentage of your income. Money in the bank gives you a very safe foundation of courage when bargaining for the sale of your services. Without money, you must take what you are offered and be glad to get it. 22 is lack of enthusiasm. We just talked about that. We talked about the opposite of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is apathy. It's kind of like, yeah, like, you know, if you want to overcome procrastination, then I guess you should really get my course because it's pretty good. But, you know, you don't have to. I mean, you seem pretty good. If somebody is struggling with something and they just told you what their challenge is and you know what's on the other side of their block, it is a disservice to not be enthusiastic, number one, not in their face, but like, listen, I hear you out. I understand you've been burnt in the past with coaches and this and that, and you probably invested a lot of money in programs. But I know this program is going to change your life. I have proven results. I've been doing this specific course for over 10 years, tried and true, over and over and over again. I've personally overcome it. And now I have, like, even in my mind, just because the desire to want to do it it's there, those things don't really go away. But then I'm like, well, what's on the other side of this? And I would be doing a disservice if I didn't at least introduce you and try to persuade you enthusiastically how freaking amazing my products and services are, because I know it's going to change your life. And that I authentically mean. My programs work. If they don't work, I don't put them out until I've mastered them and I know that they work, because I've tried them. And sometimes if I'll do a course for the first time, which is a few years ago, I was messaging a few people. I did this course on life audits because I was so tired of these vision board things going out. And I understood there's a whole segment of people that vision boards just do not work, makes you angry. I get it, because I used to be classified in that segment. And I was like, this stuff does not work for a certain category of people. And so we have to approach it a lot differently. So I put it out there. I only charge $47. Listen, you guys, anytime I charge a $47 course, like, get on it, because it's a test run for me to make sure that everybody has the same results. If somebody doesn't have the same result as everybody else, or if there's anything that's off, I'm using it as a beta. So now this course is at $500, and I went back to other people because they wanted to go back into the course like 2 years later, randomly. And they're like, this course is amazing. It changed my life. It really helped me shapeshift XYZ. But if I didn't push things out there on people, or follow up, or be enthusiastic about it and keep promoting it, I can't help you if you don't know that I can help you. If you're struggling with overthinking, with overwhelm, with anxiety, and you're on all these doped up medications and you're numbing yourself, like, I can help you. I've helped many, many clients. So you don't have to numb yourself anymore. And so if you have a product or a service, it says in here, like, enthusiasm is contagious and the person who has it is under control and generally welcome any group of people. So it says under control and generally welcome in any group of people. Of course, make sure you discern the enthusiastic people, because sometimes you can be somebody can be enthusiastic and sell you something it doesn't even work. So definitely fact check. Intolerance. The person with a closed mind on any subject seldom gets ahead. Intolerance means that one has stopped acquiring knowledge. The most damaging form of intolerance are those connected with religion, religious, racial, and political differences of opinion. So the person with a closed mind. I used to definitely be a closed mind. I remember my first career, which does pour into this career. I thought I knew everything and I just stopped learning from people. But I think what happened was I didn't realize at the time that I needed to find a mentor. And I do get that there's a lot of people, especially when you get to a high level in what you do and you've been doing it for a while, that you don't feel challenged or stimulated, and people don't. It's like you got to find people that are doing what you want, or at least start to look for people that are doing what you want. And I had this in our inner circle. We do a lot of, like, we have such great conversations in our circle, but not necessarily conversations, but actually strategies to move forward with it. And it was just really about finding people that can be part of your lineup, that are going to challenge you and also to expand you outside of your career. I have a lot of clients that work with me, and it inspires them to implement certain systems and processes into their own business within what they do, because now they're learning from a bit different perspective, and something that they're going in with an open mind and a beginner's mindset, and then they apply it to something that maybe they're a master in, or a senior in, whatever you guys call it. And so enthusiasm, intolerance. 24 is intemperance. The most damaging form of intemperance are connected with eating, strong drink, and sexual activities. Overindulgence in any of these is fatal to success. Can we just stop and just say, like, thank you for putting in this book, because I know you guys are thinking me like a little kooky bird when I'm telling you guys the impact that alcohol has on our pineal gland. It's an upper and a downer, and it impacts your mood if you do struggle with mental instability and differences in mood. This is something I know, coming back to overthinking, a tool to help you just stop thinking for the moment. But there are other tools and modalities that are going to be an asset to you versus a liability. And even if you are, food isn't talked about a lot, but it also does impact our mood, our emotional state, our cognition, our mental acuity, our ability to think for ourselves. It's interesting to see like what tool that people use in order to calm the mind, because that's really all we're doing. When the brain starts going haywire and you feel out of control, we revert to typically these three things. And at the end of the day, this is the instant gratification that leads to dissatisfaction, disappointment, unfulfillment, versus a long game, feeling proud of yourself, feeling satisfied, feeling fulfilled, feeling purpose-filled, feeling vitality, feeling life force. And so I want you guys to also start thinking about like what's on the other side, and what is it going to cost me to continue to act or behave in this way, or to keep doing these things that only harm me. Inability to cooperate with others. More people lose their position and their big opportunities in life because of this fault than for all other reasons combined. Is a fault which no well-informed business executive or leader will tolerate. Teamwork makes the dream work. 26, possession of power not acquired through self-effort. Power in the hands of one who did not acquire it gradually is often fatal to success. Quick riches are more dangerous than poverty. So I know like a lot of you guys work really, really hard for your families and for your children and for your legacy, but when they're young, and especially the mothers that are overwhelmed and feeling like nobody's supporting you, nobody's helping you, you've got a team. If you have a family, you have a sports team. Everybody needs a role. Children are waiting for feeling like they have a placement and a position and a form of leadership to take ownership on something. Everything is the delivery of how you're saying it, the way that you're explaining it, how people can feel important and needed and appreciated, but also treating it and educating and pouring down into your children on this stuff. Because if they could go to school and learn, they can also learn life skills that are not taught in the school systems. And that's why I know a lot of elite entrepreneurs are homeschooling their children and teaching them life. They're teaching them business. They're teaching them things that the school system does not teach, that when you get out and you have a really hard time. And so that's really what about leading that legacy is teaching them things that they need to know at a super early age. Intentional dishonesty. There's no substitute for honesty. One may be temporarily dishonest by force of circumstance, which one has no control, without permanent damage, but there is no hope for people who are dishonest by choice. Sooner or later, their deeds will catch up with them, and they will pay by loss of reputation and perhaps even loss of liberty. This also stems based on being honest with yourself. I don't know, my battery is super low. This also comes down to being honest with yourself. How honest are you with yourself? You can't acknowledge what you need to acknowledge. You can't be aware. You can't have self-awareness if you don't have self-honesty. Number 28 is egotism and vanity. We're almost done. We got 31 here. These qualities serve as red lights to warn others to keep away. They are fatal to success. 29 is guessing instead of thinking. And this is a big one we talked about, is people don't want to think for themselves. If you don't think for yourself, you will attract other people that are going to start thinking for you, and it's not going to be a desired outcome. I promise it's not. You're better off hiring a mentor or coach and intentionally choosing somebody to like be the voice and to be the strength until it becomes your own. And if you don't have that and you're just kind of cruising along, you're like, oh, I don't want to think for myself. Life is hard. Da, da, da. Like, you will attract people and relationships that will do that for you. Guessing instead of thinking, most people are too indifferent or lazy to acquire facts with which to think accurately. They prefer to act on opinions created by guesswork or snap judgment. Even this, so as I was playing around, because my homework from my mentor is to play with Chat GPT. So I'm like, okay, topic I want to talk to you guys about is overthinking. It's a big discussion in my consultations and with my clients, and overwhelm and unfulfillment and all these things. And so I'm like, okay, let me talk to Chat GPT and put a little practice in. Because I know my topic and because I understand it and I'm using a tool to maybe help organize it or maybe see like what their structure is to get an idea, it still doesn't really have a pulse. And so part of us as humans and having the ability to think, we're able to put things in perspective and be like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this, but then I'm going to take segments of this. And then I'm also going to share some stories with you because that's going to create greater impact. So you still have to have the ability to think for yourself. And all these things coming back to even like the beginning of this, because we're on number 29, all contribute back to this: taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit, discipline. Number 30 is lack of capital. This is a common cause of failure among those who start out in business for the first time without sufficient reserve of capital to absorb their mistakes. So this is just saying like mistakes are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen in business. Without sufficient reserve of capital to absorb the shock of their mistakes and to carry them over until they have established a reputation. 31 is under this, name any particular cause of failure from which you have suffered that has not been included in the foregoing list. So that's more just kind of anything that wasn't in here. But these are 30 major causes of failure. And then it's just taking an inventory of how many of these are holding you back. So yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's live stream. This is a book that I'm reading from. This is a new edited edition with really updated versions of stories and stuff like that. So I know you guys have mentioned me a few times in my messages that you liked when I was doing these. So I'm bringing them back in different segments and putting that perspective as well as a few of my own little pieces of flavor. All right, you guys, but I hope you have a blessed up night. I'm going to go get some movement because I've been sitting all day. It's still light out here in Miami. And if you need support with anything, just let me know. I do have a really amazing signature course, and we have a live retreat coming up in September. So message me retreat if you want more information on that or any products or services that you might be interested in. I can definitely point you in the right direction. All right, you guys. Hope you have an amazing day and night, and I will talk to you probably tomorrow. All right, guys.